So a washer is not covering all your clothes right now.
Well, basically, you put your clothes in there and it'll wet them, but it won't like completely submerge them.
What kind of fucking bullshit it is? It's called a washer for a reason.
Yeah, well, it's fucking the government.
It's all the fucking government's fault.
Fucking regulating shit.
This is Two Jersey Kids, episode 31. I am your host for this evening. You know, fun and games, car crash, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Adam Buckingham is my name, and I'm with my best friend, the best stick handler in the business. He knows how to handle that stick, ladies and gentlemen, if you're into that. Gary Seisel, how you doing today, Gary?
This is starting off very weirdly, but I'm doing very well.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Seinfeld joke.
Well, that's brilliant. Actually, it's a great show. Great reference. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing great today. Excited to be here. I got out of work early. I couldn't be any happier to be here on this podcast, like always.
It's because
for the Friday episode.
I believe it was because your manager heard that episode where we talk shit about him keeping you late, and he decided to not get on Two Jersey Kids' bad side because he knows we're going to be huge in the future, and we'll just sick our, fan base on him because that's what tyrannical podcasts do.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, Gary! Well, actually, I'm not going to ask you any questions right now because I need to get in the spiel. This is Two Jersey Kids. We are a video game podcast. We release every Tuesday and Friday. This is the Friday episode that's in your ear holes right now where we go over all the news that's been going on throughout the past week. Our Tuesday episode, we tell you the games releasing that week, and we also go into, a brief topic and go into our opinions, just, off the top of our head, what we're thinking about a certain video game topic. So you can tweet us topics at Two Jersey Kids, which our wonderful fan out there, Allison, has done before, and we'll probably get back to one of her topics this upcoming Tuesday, so that's going to be exciting. And you can also email us, twojerseykids@gmail.com. If you are a new listener, thank you so much for being here. If you continue listener, we appreciate you so much. Please hit that subscribe button if you're a new listener, and if you're a continued listener, please, if you are whatever podcast app service you use, whether it's TuneIn, Google Play, even though you can't rate it on Google Play, even though I say it all the time, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Overcast, iTunes would be really helpful. Please give us a rating of 5 stars. Well, if it's out of 10 stars, give us 10 stars. Actually, give us whatever feedback you want. General feedback would be helpful. We would appreciate that. So now that I'm done with all that excitement, Gary, what have you been up to this week?
Well, it's actually been an interesting week, I think. We've been getting a lot of Destiny 2 news. I've been actually playing Destiny because it's been the Age of Triumph event going on.
What exactly is that?
It's basically capping off the past 3 years of Destiny. So you have what they're doing is they're bringing back all the old raids back to relevancy. So basically all the old raids are now made I think level 400, maybe 390. And basically you go through again, you earn new armor because they redesigned the armor.
Are you talking about light gear rating?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So they basically you go back through and you get your new armor, which has been redesigned, new weapons, and you kind of have a good time. So I haven't done any raids yet. I'm waiting till this weekend to get my team together, but soon enough that'll happen. But other than that, I've been playing Battlefield again. I've been playing more of the Scout class. I've been playing more of the Scout class though, so it's a little bit different. Takes a little bit of time to get used to, but I'm just popping off flares everywhere and exposing people on the radar, so it makes it easy for the teammates. I'm a team player. That's how I am.
You like exposing people.
Yeah, maybe. It depends on what you mean by that. But yeah. So what have you been up to?
Me personally, I finally finished Horizon. Finally, yay! I actually completed all the side. I feel like I completed most of the side quests, which I feel like sort of helps you at the end. I don't know if it really helps you. I think it does somewhat. I guess it's sort of a callback, I guess, at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything. But I really enjoyed where the story ended up. That was, one of the first... In a while, it feels like where an open-world game I felt more connected to the story, main mission story. Last time, I believe it was actually Witcher 3. I know we gave it a lot of shit, but one of the story quests, with the Bloody Baron, I think that's what it's called, that got me engaged. But this was start to finish the most engaged I've been with a main story quest in an open world game in a long time, and I'm really happy where it ended off. It definitely points to the future, what they can do in a second one, which me and Gary will probably sit down and talk about, do like an episode on just Horizon itself and what go in the future, just a general spoiler-filled discussion. And then there's also, like, I feel like they have DLC options, which we talked about before the podcast. So I'm excited for that. But what I'm really excited for now that Horizon, it feels like a weight like lifted off your whenever you finish a game that you really want to finish, it kind of like lifts a weight off your shoulders so you can get back to other games. So I'm kind of pumped to get back into Neo, where the reason I feel like it's a weight is because I wanted to. This was like the main game I wanted to finish, I wanted to do, and everything got pushed aside. And I felt like it was in the back of my mind that I still wanted to play this game. So I'm excited to finally get back to Neo. I need to get back into getting back into that difficulty mindset of how everything is just out to fucking murder you, and no matter how good you are, you will die. So that'll be an interesting first few levels for me when I get back into that, because I think I'm like halfway through the game. So I'm excited because there's not many games on my radar at the moment. So I'm going back. I'm gonna try to beat Neo. So that should be fun. And Gary, you have something to say that's on the tip of your brain, it looks like.
Yeah, it was really a shame is that like once I got done Horizon, I immediately shifted my focus towards Mass Effect. I'm thinking like, all right, here we go, Mass Effect. Yeah. I'm gearing myself up for the excitement that is this great gaming franchise, and sure enough, the game falls flat on its face. So I haven't actually bought that game yet, and it's really disappointing because now there's like a void there. And granted, I've been playing Destiny, and it's something to take up my time, and Battlefield's kind of always there, but now I find myself in the same spot I was before Horizon came out, and it's really disappointing. So I may play through Horizon again on a harder difficulty. I feel like that'd be fun.
Honestly, I highly suggest you go on PSN, go find Shadow of Mordor, because I feel like it'll be only $19.99 at the most. Maybe it'll be cheaper with PSN. I feel like you should go check it out, because it's a fantastic fucking game. You may not be into, like, I don't know if you're into Lord of the Rings. I don't remember if you were. But you don't you don't really need to be. It's more what I liked mostly about that is the gameplay and like the Nemesis system itself. So I would highly recommend you go check that out, especially because it always seems to happen that there's like a summer lull in like games that come out, like big games. So that's why I'm excited that I still have Neo to hold me over until fucking I guess Destiny 2, which we'll be getting into soon. So
indeed,
that's what I've been up to. Gary, it's time for your segment because you remembered again, 5th time in a row.
Yeah, baby. It actually may be more than that. But anyway, thanks to Moby Games, I am able to provide all you great listeners with This Week in Gaming. Now,
brought to you by Gatorade. Not really. Gary's about to kill me.
I really regret pausing there and allowing you to do that. But anyway, This Week in Gaming, back in 2005, Lego Star Wars, the video game, was released on Xbox, PS2, and PC. And I remember playing this game a ton back in the day. I actually liked playing...
I believe this was the first Lego game that came out. Is that correct?
You may be correct. I think you're actually very right. Yeah, I think you're spot on.
Who would have thunk back then that this would just spawn into like, the video game franchise that is the Lego? You have like Lego Marvel, Harry Potter. You still have Star Wars coming out. There's all different ways they go with it. They had Lego Batman games. Fucking love Lego Star Wars. I like the goofiness of it, and especially back then, they did a great job of telling these like stories that we already knew without the Legos ever speaking. I know now they actually speak, but back then they did it in like such a clever way where the Legos never spoke, which it was like very quirky.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they did a really good job with the accuracy. Like, I mean, even though it was jokey, it still was right on point and really kind of like. It looked like the movie. It was right on cue there. So that was a great game. I remember playing it a ton. I liked playing I'm not sure which one I liked more. I mean, I haven't played it in years, but I remember they had did they have the prequels come out, or was the original trilogy out first? I think it might have been the prequels, then the original trilogy.
I literally thought they were all together.
Were they? I think they were separate.
No, I think they're all packed together. I'll have to look that up when you talk about the next one. But I love the Lego games because I like how quirky. It wasn't like a really super difficult game. Like it was a lot of collecting. It wasn't like too stressful. A lot of co-op. I remember I loved when I was playing co-op with like friends, and sometimes we just started like lightsaber battling each other just for shits and gigs.
Yes,
and I like the fact that it introduced like the whole quick play, how you can then choose a bunch of different characters, then go play through levels that literally make no sense. So like running around with Darth Maul in like a random.
Well, couldn't you? Sorry to interrupt. Couldn't you also actually just join in at random? Like, I mean, you could be playing through a mission, and all of a sudden your friend could just like join up immediately. I remember that happening as well. That was cool.
Made things a lot smoother. Gary, move on to the next game unless you have anything else to say.
No, I'm good. All right. Next up in 2011, The Sims 3 was released on Nintendo 3DS. Now, I never played the 3DS version, but I did play the Mac version, actually. My sister had it on her Mac, and I got a chance to play it a little bit. I'm a huge fan of the original Sims games. That was like, huge. I mean, that game will always have a place in my heart. Nice reference there. That game will always have a place in my heart because it was just one of the original games I grew up playing on PC. And I don't know, I never really got too much into the later Sims games, but that's beside the point. Moving on.
The first one, it was the prequel trilogy, which says a lot that it was a good game with the prequel trilogy. So it was the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and there was also a bonus segment for A New Hope. So, fun.
Bangarang. And, by the way, the reason why they were good, the Lego series was good in the trilogy, or the original, the prequel trilogy, is because there was no dialogue.
Exactly.
So you didn't have to hear the very shitty lines that were written. So
about
that's
the Trade
why.
Federation.
Oh, God. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. Okay, let's move on to the final thing.
That was actually like the only decent one, I think. I like Phantom Menace more than third one, but...
Oh, God. No, yeah. I'm a big fan of... I like Episode 3 more than any of the other ones in the prequel. I just felt like it linked. It kind of made sense. It finally connected to the original.
That's the only reason why people liked it, because it finally connected to something they loved. I think at least...
exactly.
I mean, I know they fucked it up with the Phantom Menace, but I thought Qui-Gon was we can get into this, but I thought Qui-Gon was a solid character.
Boring.
I like Darth Maul. He's my boy. I love Darth Maul.
I think that the moral of Episode 1, the moral of the story is that they had a bunch of characters that could have been really good that just weren't fleshed out enough. Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan.
Fucking Darth Maul should have been the villain throughout the whole series until the end, and Anakin takes
Jar Jar Binks should have died like right in the beginning.
Even though I sent you I think I sent you a link. No, I think I sent it to your dad by accident because you're not actually on Facebook. But I sent you like a hypothetical thing about how Jar Jar was supposed to be the evil Darth person, kind of like a copy of like how Yoda is.
I would love to know what drug that guy took when he came up with that theory. But anyway, I don't want to get any more sidetracked than we already are with this Jar Jar bullshit. So
I'll send you the link on email.
Okay. The final game that released this week that I really could find and was actually interested in was BioShock Infinite, releasing on Xbox 360 and the PS3 back in 2013. And I was a huge fan of this game as well. I was actually really impressed with how this game was able to go away from the underwater theme and actually just kind of create a whole new world and be just as good as basically the original. I thought obviously the original BioShock was great, but the second one kind of fell off in my opinion. It was okay.
This one felt less like the actual BioShock to me anyway. I think
it wasn't as creepy.
It obviously wasn't as creepy. I mean, they set up the atmosphere correctly, but I felt like this game went too much into the shooter realm, which I never really thought of as the BioShock series. Especially, I think at the end, like you had to like fight waves upon waves of enemies.
That was crazy.
So it kind of threw me. Sorry, I hit the mic. It kind of threw me off that this was more like it felt more of a shooter than actual BioShock with the original. And I guess the reason I noticed this is that I played the original BioShock right before Infinite came out, because I think there was like a collection or something that came out beforehand, and that felt more like. Maybe they were hampered by like the controls back then, I guess, so it wasn't like a crazy first-person shooter. It was more atmospheric. You did shooting when you had to. It wasn't like in BioShock Infinite, I expected to start in a firefight. I never, in BioShock itself, I never really expected a firefight. It seemed all of a sudden to pop up out of nowhere. Where Infinite, I just sort of expected it, kind of like what you expect in like an Uncharted, the first 3 Uncharted franchises, where you walk into an open field, and you're like, well, I know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Let's get the guns out. Let's start shooting.
I didn't really have a problem with it, though. I mean, it was different. It wasn't like you said, it wasn't like the original BioShock, but I think it's kind of hard to replicate.
I think it was. I thought it was a really good game. I think it had the unfortunate thing that it came out right around the time of The Last of Us, and I played The Last of Us first.
True.
So it's sort of. I know people were trying to say that like these were both phenomenal games, but I played The Last of Us and I played BioShock Infinite. I was like, it's not even. I don't even think it's relatively close. To me,
well,
anyway.
it's so hard. You can't compare those two games. That's the thing. It's like you go from, like you said, it's more like a shooter sort of RPG game to a like legit story-driven RPG where it's like a deep story with deep characters. It's kind of hard to.
Last of Us is like a fancy fine dining meal, like a little like fucking I don't know what like a fancy like fillet with like a little bit of like salad on the side. And fucking BioShock is just fucking like meat and potatoes or something.
And that's the style. That's what I'm going for, baby. But,
more comfort food than anything. It's more grease.
Yeah. But that's it for this week in gaming. I have 3 games. You heard them. You loved them. And now we're moving on to the news. Adam, take the wheel.
Oh, I will take the wheel. Gary, actually, it's going to come right back to you because there was Destiny stuff galore this week. We mentioned how it was leaked in our last episode, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, which it wasn't really out of nowhere because it sort of made sense that this was going to happen. I'm going to say something. All right, I'm just going to fucking, you know what, I'm just going to blow it already because I know what happened. Unfortunately, my levels didn't show that we're recording, so I try to chop it in to make it flow together, but I can't lie to my fans. But it did make sense that Destiny, Bungie had to release something due to the little leaks that have been going around with the poster and everything. So it just made sense for them to finally say something now, especially with the with all the information coming out about the beta coming out in June. So I figured this is a good time to do it. I feel like it's a good time to showcase it. So, Gary, I mean, I'm just going to let you take the wheel with introducing, like, everything that's been going on. You're the Destiny guy, so here you go.
All right. Well, I mean, basically, the past couple days, there was a teaser that was released, the Destiny 2 teaser, which featured Cade 6. He's like one of the...
Nathan Fillion, my man.
Yep, voiced by Nathan Fillion. But he's like one of the fan favorites.
Yeah,
in this game. And basically, he's basically talking about like his, I guess, some battle that he was in. But anyway, the real story here is that basically Thursday, March 30th, the day that we're recording this. I was going to say today, but anyway.
Good job, Gary. I'm so proud of you. I'm really proud of you. You finally got it down.
Yeah, I'm getting the hang of this thing. So the real story here is that today there was a trailer released, the Destiny 2 reveal trailer, and basically it showed Cade 6, Commander Zavala, and I believe Ikora Ray, if I'm getting that name right. I cannot believe I actually remembered. But basically it shows them, trying to quote-unquote rally the troops. But what's interesting about this trailer, you can go watch it anywhere. You can find it online if you're very interested. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. It'd be ridiculous. The interesting thing about this trailer is the fact that I feel like it shows the shift in tone from the original game. Because if you remember, I remember looking at the original Destiny trailer and thinking that this game was going to be like this deep story with like, I remember like they showed the speaker, which was it was supposed to be a main character, I guess, at one point, but he became irrelevant as time went on. He had like this really like supposed to be deep line where like, it used to be that like the kids would only cry when something bad would happen, but now they're just crying anyway. It's some sort of stupid, cheesy, over the top line. Well, anyway, the original game was so serious in tone and like almost like over dramatic, and now like they're going for more of the lighthearted comedic feel to it, and you can see it in how Zavala is trying to like deliver this crazy like epic speech, and then on the other hand, you see Cade in the trailer, like just being a jackass, essentially. It's the best way to describe it. So I don't know. I just found that interesting, the shift in tone. That was the first thing that I realized. But I'm pretty excited for Destiny 2. You know, not enough has really been released yet to be like, you know, all right, I'm definitely going to buy this game. With that said, I might pre-order it just to play the beta. As sad as that sounds. But yeah, you know, I'm excited about it. I'm not sure about you. I know you were kind of someone that was turned off by the original game and the whole debacle that was the Destiny launch. But how do you feel about it personally by looking at these trailers?
Honestly, I like the trailer more. I really do like the vibe of the trailer. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like they're not taking themselves too seriously. They're not
exactly.
They're not trying to be. I don't want to say compare them to Halo, because Halo is such a serious franchise, always a serious story, and I feel like now Bungie can, if they're going in this route where it's serious but also mixed with some like lighthearted moments, they can sort of work that in. They can flex their, you know, character chops, because Master Chief, sorry to say it, he was kind of like a one-note character. He didn't have any ups and downs. He didn't break one-liners. I couldn't think of the word after I fucked it up. He couldn't just snap off one-liners. He couldn't be. He was always one tone, like serious. I guess because he's supposed to be a soldier. However, now I felt like Bungie is trying to get into the realm where they're trying to balance the line between like a serious story and then also having those lighthearted moments where it makes you care about the characters around you. I never really knew the characters too much from Destiny. They didn't really go into them too much. I mean, they sat around the table, the Titan guy, and then Caden, what's his name? Caden 6? Cade 6?
Cade, you got that right.
Cade 6. Honestly, after this trailer, I cared more about them. I felt more like in touch with like who their personalities are, and if they focus more on that, like, I don't know, give us more cutscenes like where we feel with them. Maybe actually go out on like the story is you following with them instead of them just being in one main area. Maybe they're actually during your like story, quote unquote, story missions. They're actually joining you, so you feel them as a character instead of them just being, you know, just in one room like a classic MMO. Like, I don't have any real connection with you per se. You're sitting here saying things, but I still don't have that type of connection. So I'm interested to see how this lightheartedness tone comes through. Another, like, and actually I saw with all the information that was released with the trailer, a big thing is now with the sequel, they're actually going to be releasing Destiny 2 on Windows. That's a large deal. That's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
I'd be surprised to see how many people actually buy it for PC. I know like a lot of streamers.
There's plenty of people out there buying it for PC.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested because like a lot of streamers I watch, you know, they're getting questions now from people like, "Hey, are you going to buy this on the PC or are you buying this on console?" Now, granted, I think that a lot of these streamers are just going to buy it for every conceivable system, like they always do. I mean, a lot of the streamers I watch have an Xbox and PS4, so it's not like
they probably have the money to burn if they're legitimate
exactly.
streamers.
and it's just you're opening yourself up to more viewers. But yeah.
I did see, since I also saw a note, Gary, you may not have saw it, so I got some Destiny news on you. Their final patch, they're going to finally add back in the line that Peter Dinklage said about going to the moon or something.
Oh, yeah, I saw. Yeah, that wizard came from the moon. Yeah, I saw that. It's actually pretty hilarious. They did. So basically, like, I'll say that wizard came from the moon, and then all of a sudden, you have what's his name? Is it Nolan North? He cuts in and he's kind of like, and he has to clear his throat. Like it's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. I'm glad that they made fun of it. Where I think I saw something they actually sold t-shirts referencing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's funny because if you remember, I don't think you might not remember this, but there's a character, Eris Morn, in this game, and she's like ultra serious, kind of like
you could fucking make up all these character names, and I would have no clue. I have no clue. That kind of shows you how Destiny didn't really. Me being not like a hardcore Destiny fan, playing it kind of shows how, you know, me being just a normal fan doesn't know everything that's going on in the Destiny universe.
Well, that's the thing. Like this character again, this is kind of dealing with the whole shift in tone of the game. Like they had Eris Morn, who was like this ultra serious character, and like she was like, you know, she always talked about how, you know, she watched her friends die, and like I lost my friend in this battle, and it was like, okay, it's enough. And now it's funny how they're going back now and kind of like, especially with the Taken King, if you remember, I know you played the Taken King, how they went to more of like a character-based story, and like, Cade makes fun of Eris all the time, kind of like talks back to her, is always sarcastic to her. It's kind of like they're making fun of themselves now and like trying to move on from what the disaster, frankly, that it was.
I like how they just in the trailer they just basically blatantly pointed out, like, you lost all your loot, you lost everything that's going on.
No, they said there was gonna be a ton of loot.
No, they in the trailer, like how they smashed your stuff, they smashing my stuff or whatever, but most importantly, my stuff. That portion where they destroyed everything.
I think the tower is going to be. I think the tower is just gone in Destiny 2. It might very well just be completely gone, which would explain the fact that your gear is now vanished into thin air.
I like the fact that they're saying, you know what, F it, let's just blow it all up and start anew.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. Some people are just so crazy because they spend so much time grinding for shit, and now they're really bent out of shape that, believe it or not, an MMO is making things irrelevant. Go figure, right? I mean, it's time to move on. Destiny 1 was...
Doesn't technically happen every time a fucking, like, in a normal MMO, another expansion comes out? Your gear is irrelevant, basically? Because you have to get new gear to do anything. Yeah. So what's the difference between starting a whole new game from square one versus,
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking people bitching about everything. Moving on!
Do it.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 has officially been announced. Shamit Sakar over at Polygon Right. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the name of the next Battlefront game. Publisher Electronic Arts announced today. Executives at EA have been publicly discussing plans for a sequel to EA Dice's Star Wars Battlefront. Okay. Since the day before the game launched in November 2015, however, this is the first confirmation of the sequel's title. Notably, the naming convention follows the same trajectory as the original Star Wars Battlefront titles from the mid-2000s, both of which were developed by the now-defunct Pandemic Studios. EA will show the first trailer for Star Wars Battlefront 2 during a panel at Star Wars Celebration 2017, which will take place in mid-April. The panel, quote, the galaxy-wide premiere of Star Wars Battlefront 2, end quote, will feature members of the game's development team from 3 EA studios, DICE, Criterion, and Motive. It's set to begin at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, April 15th, and it will be live-streamed online. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is scheduled to be released this fall, likely on PS4, Windows PC, and Xbox One. I highly doubt the Switch. I'm sorry, I'm throwing that in there. But Gary, it's exciting that they're going to finally show trailers, but this was more, I put this in here because I was kind of curious. What exactly do you want from Battlefront 2? What do you want to see them improve on or add into, or what do you want from Battlefront 2 where they finally capture your little kid's heart?
Well, it's so hard to say because I've said in the past that, I don't know if this game necessarily needs a single player to be successful or not, but I don't know. Right now, from where I stand right now, I would like to see a good single player, a good multiplayer game, like a well-rounded game, because honestly, the first Star Wars Battlefront, it was just so empty. You played the game for like maybe an hour or two, and the game looked beautiful, it sounded awesome, but it just wasn't. There was no meat to the game. It was just kind of like you went in, you played online, you killed a few people, and then you got off. Now, I hope they do more of like a single player game. You have the campaign you can play through with the story, and then you can also get into the multiplayer. Hopefully, you have like some sort of ranking system, so it's kind of like sort of like COD, where you can kind of rank up and earn like gear, equipment, skins. I just would like to see something like that. Something with like actual substance to it instead of kind of
bro shooter like.
Yeah, the bro shooter. Just something with substance to it, damn it.
I honestly I'm curious. I know you say you want them to add single player, and so do I. But what do you take away from certain developers stating? I think I saw like last week or something how only 10% of people that do get these shooter type games, especially first person shooters, they don't only 10% really actually try to play the single player. And the rest just go to multiplayer. Why? What is their incentive to finally go to multiplayer when it's not really speaking to what? Why would they waste their time and effort into doing that?
Well, see, it depends on the games we're talking about. I mean, who wants to play the Call of Duty story anymore? It's just terrible.
I know people still do.
Well, I know. I mean, I used to do that all the time regardless. I would play through the story and then play through the multiplayer, but not everybody does that. And I just feel like if you want more people to play your single player campaign, or you don't think there's enough. Yeah, well, actually makes a single player game worth playing. I mean, put a campaign in the game that's actually interesting. And unfortunately, with a lot of first person shooters like COD, for example, now it's not that good. I mean, no matter what they do, they can put in Conor McGregor and
I forgot he was in the recent run, and
Jon Snow, and it still doesn't work out. So
he has a fucking name, Gary. It's Kit Harington. He's not a fucking character.
I couldn't think of his name until after I said Jon Snow.
You so insensitive bastard.
Yeah, something like that.
How dare you?
But yeah, so make a good campaign, and then then people will actually start playing the single player.
I concur. I really do. I do. I mean, I was going to say that maybe the fact that maybe developers, if they don't include single player, maybe they see that it's not worth it and they can put more time and effort into the multiplayer. However, from what I'm hearing with Battlefront multiplayer, even without the single player, it sounded like the multiplayer itself was shallow, not much going on. I mean, I know they put a lot of effort into the visuals and sounds, which is fantastic, but I feel like if you're going to skip a single player, you actually need to have the multiplayer have a lot of depth to it, which it didn't sound like Battlefront did.
Well, if you remember too, like in the old Battlefront games, they had space battles. They had, like Galactic Conquest, those types of game modes. And Galactic Conquest was a single player experience. But what's up?
Could you imagine if EA, added space battles into this, and like the beauty that would be, like these gigantic destroyer ships? You're flying an X-wing trying to go.
Imagine if it was like almost like No Man's Sky in some sort of ways. Believe it or not, guys. I'm actually saying someone emulates No Man's Sky. I'm saying that with Battlefront, imagine a fight taking place on Tatooine, for example, and then all of a sudden you take off, you fly into space, and there's a space battle going on at the same time. Like you have 4 points on that specific planet you have to fight for. One of them is in space, and people are fighting for that while you're fighting on the ground. That'd be sick.
It would be sick if somehow they were able to, instead of doing just one specific map, I know it'd be kind of difficult, but just have it where the game mode is like kind of like best of 3, I guess you could say. So the first portion starts on the ground, and like you have to like at the end, like if like one person wins or loses, it like you're like running off, and like you're going to like your spaceships to try to evacuate, and the people are trying to chase you, and then you're flying up into like a space battle, and triggers that portion of the battle. I mean, this sounds like it would be a 3-hour game mode, not gonna lie.
Well, it's actually really funny you say that, because Battlefield right now has a new game type called Frontlines, which I've talked about previously. It's a game mode that can take like more than an hour to complete. It kind of sounds like what you're saying right now. Kind of sounds like that game type, and it's amazing in my opinion. But I mean, that'd be really cool if they could do something like that, where you're fighting. You're basically trying to push them back into their territory and win. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
But it's EA, so who knows? Don't get your hopes up. Unfortunately, no offense to EA, but kinda. You always set us up and then just shoot us the fuck down. Moving on. Fans won't stop playing one of Steam's most popular games, even though they claim to hate it. Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku writes, I included this because I had a rant last week. Go check it out, episode 30, about 400 people bitching about the progression system, yet they put in like probably fucking hours upon hours, and they just want to bitch because, But I just wanted to read this story because I feel like I don't know, it fits in. H1Z1 King of the Hill is one of the most popular games on Steam, despite the fact that thousands of fans claim to hate it. Now that a similar game, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, has appeared, many say they're going to jump ship for good, and this time they really, really mean it. Maybe. King of the Kill... I said that wrong before. King of the Kill is a battle royale game that begins with you and more than 100 other players parachuting onto a massive, fully open map. You then scramble to amass a small arsenal of weapons and armor before somebody else beats you to a bloody pulp and steals your shoes. You have one life. Last person standing wins. H1Z1 King of the Kill, which was spun off from Daybreak's hit zombie survival game H1Z1 in February 2016, didn't launch to much fanfare. For the first few months, it peaked at a respectable but not amazing 19,000 concurrent players. But the start of 2017, that number was typically between 40,000 and 50,000, high enough to firmly entrench King of the Kill in Steam's top 10. These days, it regularly commands an audience of over 100,000 concurrent players, more than anything save Dota 2 and Counter-Strike Go. Some of King of the Kill's slow burn success can be attributed to streamers who started showing up in earnest after Daybreak released a major update that introduced, among other things, native Twitch integration. Watching a good streamer play the game is an experience equal parts tense, triumphant, and tickling. Odds of victory are low, but you never know quite what will happen. Different streamers try different strategies. Some grab a car and transform it into a mix of Rambo and Knight Rider. Others try to sneaky subterfuge. A handful work together. Occasionally, you'll even get some that borderline sociopathic social engineering that made games like DayZ so popular back in the day. And yet, for all its popularity, King of the Kill's recent reviews on Steam are only 59% positive, garnering it an overall rating of mixed. This is quite unusual since the vast majority of games in Steam's top 10 have an overall rating of very positive. The game store page is marked by splotchy rash of red thumbs down, almost unanimously citing the same issues. The game can be fun, they say, but it's just too buggy and unfinished. On top of that, some feel that Daybreak is prioritizing the addition of new microtransaction-based items over bug fixes and quality of life improvements. They worry that it will never realize its full potential or even evolve very far beyond where it is now. He adds his own experience to it. In my experience, the game is glitchy and janky to the point that it can interfere with people's fun. And yet hundreds of thousands of people keep playing it because they love the concept and the moments the game can create. For example, the top review on the game store page right now reads, quote, "I've uninstalled the game 4 times, end quote. That means they've installed it 4 times, too. Next to the big thumbs down in the review is a time played counter that reads, quote, 130.1 hours played, end quote. They can't quit. They keep coming back in spite of themselves. It's the very definition of a love-hate relationship. Quote, alright, I've spent well over 300 hours in this game, but that doesn't make it a good game, end quote, reads another review, originally posted in October 2016. Since then, that person has spent an additional 430 hours with the game. So, they also post in these not recommended reviews. Top one, as they say, is 130.1 hours. Next one is 77.8 hours on record. Next one, 27.7 hours and 39.7 hours. That's like over a full day's worth for sure. What's recently brought the simmering resentment in King of the Kill's community is the boil in appearance of a very similar new game from Battle Royale pioneer PlayerUnknown with the unwieldy title of PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Countless recent King of the Kill reviews and discussion threads invariably lead to calls to just play PUB or PUBG instead because it's supposedly less buggy. This is certainly up for debate. I'm just going to say PUBG is also still an early access, and in my experience, it's fairly janky and has some serious performance issues. Longtime King of the Kill streamers like Stevo Live and Grimmez are now all aboard the PUBG train, while others are still trying to juggle the two. Most telling, major streamers who moved from King of the Kill like Something and Lyric are suddenly interested in Battle Royale again. On Twitch right now, PUBG regularly pulls between 50,000 and 100,000 simultaneous viewers, while King of the Kill only manages half of that. Could it be that players are finally putting their money where their mouths are and quitting the game they claim to hate? Once again, it depends on how you look at the numbers. Shortly before PUBG came out, King of the Kill's daily concurrent numbers were at an all-time high, peaking at 124,000. In the week since PUBG came out, there's been a definite downward trend, but King of the Kill still peaks at around 111,000 each day. It's still huge. And in time, players shift to PUBG could simply turn out to be a brief flirtation. It's worth noting, though, that King of the Kill is weakest during the time PUBG is strongest. They basically trade spots on the Steam's top 10. Most crucially, though, King of the Kill and PUBG are not the same game. Daybreak's game is more arcadey and fast-paced, while the newcomer focuses more on realism in regards to aiming, bullet trajectories, movement, items, and tactics. It can therefore take more time to really get going. Already, I've seen people confess that they prefer watching streamers play King of the Kill, even if they find playing it themselves to be kind of a chore. King of the Kill style Battle Royale may well be the next big Steam obsession, or it might turn out to be a one-trick pony. and he puts parentheses, already other Battle Royale games like The Calling have gained temporary popularity only to disappear into obscurity after a month or two, end parentheses. Perhaps the new injection of competition will encourage the developers of both King of the Kill and PUBG to patch up the jank. Until then, if players say they're going to quit, well, I'll believe it when I he didn't say fucking. I'll believe it when I see it. I want to say, I'll believe it when I fucking see it. Because all the time, we see players bitch and bitch and bitch about a game or a developer, how they screwed them. You see that with what happened with Mass Effect 3, how people were bitching about the ending. I think I said this last week. People were bitching about the ending, how BioWare screwed it up, and I will never buy another Mass Effect game. Guess what fucking happened when Andromeda came out? It was fucking years in between. You fucking cooled off. And guess what? They got your money again, you motherfuckers. Yep. Sucks to suck.
Well, it's fun. It's funny because when I saw this, I saw that you chose this article to talk about. I actually had a really good laugh because I've been watching a streamer for a while now. His name's Real Crafty, and he originally played Destiny. I guess that's where he became famous, but now he's sort of branching out and playing H1Z1. So for the first time ever, I watched him play this game like a month ago, and I was like, this is a fun game to watch him play. He wasn't that good at the game yet, and he admitted it. He needed to get better. But I started watching him play, and I love watching him play the game because he's actually pretty good at it now, but watching him either melt down or like laugh his ass off it's just amazing. Like the other night, I'm sitting here, I have his stream on my TV, and it's always a battle watching his stream to have the correct volume on my TV because he's so loud sometimes when he screams into his mic. So at one point, I'm like, all right, I'm really hungry right now. I got to make something to eat. So I turn on my TV. I have the stream on. My mom's laying on the couch, okay, in like the next room. So I'm making like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I'm like sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear a couple gunshots go off, and I just hear, "Oh my god, bro, this game sucks dick!" And all of a sudden, my mom's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's just my TV. Just gotta turn it down a second." Yeah, he was freaking out, but it's like the funniest thing because this game, I watch him play it all the time, and he obviously streams it pretty often, but like it's so janky, as they say. Nothing really makes sense. Like the gun mechanics don't really make sense. Like shots just don't connect when they clearly should. But yeah, I love watching him play this game, and it's funny because it's really not that great.
We need to get Real Crafty on the podcast.
That would be amazing.
I'll just let you interview him, and I'll just walk away. You can talk about Destiny and the future of Destiny all you want. You can just have a Destiny jerk off fest, as you probably will.
Okay.
Too far?
Yeah,
Too far?
That's what'll happen. Yeah.
This is like the thing. I look and I see. I don't get this. I don't get how. How do I put this? I don't get how you say a game absolutely fucking sucks and you don't recommend it when you put in over 3 days worth of playtime. I don't get that. I can understand if you put in, like, when you first put in the game, you understand it's janky and you try for, like, maybe 2 to 3 hours, and you're like, nah, I give up. But over 3 days worth, and you say at the end, quote, "This shit stain isn't worthy of my toilet." But it's worthy of your time. You are literally saying that a shit stain is more valuable than your time. Or your toilet is more valuable than your time. Whatever the fuck analogy I was trying to make, you get it.
Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of like the same. I mean, it was even the same thing with Destiny. I mean, a lot of people shit on that game, but yet you check their time played, and they've played like fucking 20 days worth of time. You can't shit on a game like that and then say you hate it. It's just not the way it works. I don't know. I think some people become addicted to a game, and then they get pissed off by something that happens. Like they get killed in a bullshit way when they're playing online, and then they immediately go on their computer, go on Twitter, and freak out online about it. And then they cool off, and then they go back. It's like a vicious cycle. It never ends. I
mean, I guess that we could make the analogy for ourselves when we were playing NHL 12 or 13.
Yes,
and
it's a perfect example.
We were playing the league. And we played it a lot, and we would just get absolutely furious when we lost because all the bullshit happened. and like we'd be cursing off the game, saying that sucks. But then we're playing it, and we're younger.
It's because
also.
it's like.
But we realized that we enjoyed the game and we loved playing it. It's just some of the things that happened in the game really sucked. But doesn't really mean that the whole game itself sucked, because we would go back and put time to try to, enjoy it more.
Yep. Well, see, the thing about that game, too, is like that was our chance to actually play a game together. It was one of the few games we actually played together. We had Call of Duty, but like we didn't play that much at the time. So NHL was that one chance, and that was like the one game we could play, but it was just it was terrible, that game. Oh my god!
Then after
those games were worse than they are now.
Then we got on the Call of Duty bandwagon, because I didn't really play much Call of Duty on the 360. I did a little bit, but not many people played as much as you did. So when I felt like playing Call of Duty, I was like, I'm just gonna put on the PS3 because I know I'll have somebody to play with if I just hop on.
Smart decision.
I know. Moving on, finally. Nintendo may lose your Switch game saves if it can't transfer your data. Ben Kuchera? I like Kuchera more. Over at Polygon writes, Nintendo Switch locks your data and save games to a single system. You can't upload them to the cloud, you can't access them from the same account on another piece of hardware, and you can't move them to an SD card to keep them safe. This is very bad news when Nintendo itself isn't able to move your data to a new system. Writer Anthony John Aguilino sent his system to Nintendo for repair. And not only did he report that the replacement system also had issues, the letter that came with the new system stated that Nintendo wasn't able to move his saved games nor data to the new system. All that time spent on Breath of the Wild, gone. Nintendo has confirmed to us that there is no way to move the files from one system to another, but the assumption was that Nintendo itself would be able to do so if your system were damaged. That assumption was wrong. This isn't always the case, as we've also seen in reports where return systems include the player's original files, but it shouldn't be happening at all. Every other competing system on the planet, save for Nintendo's own consoles, have a way to migrate data to keep your saved games and files safe or keep them stored in the cloud. There's no excuse to not have that option for a system that's meant to be played as portable as well as a home system. Drop the system or spill a soda on it and you could lose the progress you put into those games. In a Forbes statement, they say, quote, if there was ever a piece of hardware that needed some form of emergency backup, it's the Nintendo Switch. It is a console with a launch game that requires an enormous time investment where it would be devastating if that data was lost. B, it's a piece of hardware with many, many technical issues, so the overall health of the system may be in question. C, it's designed to be taken out into the world, exposing it to far more precarious scenarios than other consoles. It is absolutely ludicrous that with all these factors in play, that Nintendo does not offer the ability to copy, save data externally, or have something routine as a cloud upload, end quote. And I wanted to point this out because I've been seeing a lot of, especially on Twitter and like a lot of the, video game insiders, they seem like they're loving the Nintendo Switch. They're just loving it so much. They're loving Breath of the Wild, which I get. It's like a fantastic game. But it seems like sometimes with Nintendo video games or their hardware, I feel like just because of the fact that there's Nintendo on it, I feel like they overlook certain things. Like they look past issues with a console. I know somebody on IGN actually had the balls to say that the console itself was like a 6 because it didn't have all this stuff into it. I don't even think that guy that reviewed the console actually works there anymore. Coincidence?
I mean, honestly, I think that the fact that it's like a quote-unquote hybrid console and it's kind of like experimental works in their favor, because I feel like a lot of people now that play it, they're like, it's a really good idea and it has some problems, but like if it's fixed, it'll be a great console. And it's like, well, the whole save game thing, this whole thing where you lose like all your data, that's kind of a massive fucking problem,
It seems like they just haven't progressed to where the actual consoles are right now. I know they try to take an innovative step, but they don't have the things that are meant in like a normal console that been around for a little while now. Having memory cards be able to transfer from system to system. This is not like a fucking new concept. This is literally just, memory cards from the PS2. Now it's SD cards. It's memory. I don't understand why a certain system has to be able to, only one system can access that data. It makes 0. I'm holding up 2 zeros.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like they clearly are out of touch with something, out of touch with reality, maybe. I mean, maybe they think that they're Nintendo and whatever they do, people are going to buy the console. Maybe that's true. I don't really think it is, personally.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they just got to get with the times.
I mean, it kind of showed with the Wii U how everything that Nintendo puts out just because it's Nintendo doesn't just automatically sell. I feel like they need to put out a good console, not a Fisher price toy, which this doesn't look like it, but it seems like they're not as innovative or not including all the normal things that you expect in a console itself.
Well, it's like you were saying before about how Sony with PS3 they thought like, oh, we're the shit. Like Microsoft doesn't have anything on us, and then they go in, they release like a pretty substandard console at
You're
launch.
You're gonna get a new job for this.
And then that's the thing though. It's like you think they would learn from Sony, with their mistakes they had with the PS3 launch, and actually start to like take things seriously, start to listen to people and what they want as opposed to what they think people want.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox didn't learn when they were head held high after the 360 era, when the PS3 was finally catching up, and then they shot the bed right off the bat. Which if you shoot yourself in the foot right off the get go, you're gonna have a hard time catching up, and which still is going on where PS4 is now in the lead. We'll see what happens in the future. It seems like Xbox is now trying to, garner more support again. So I'm going to move on. I was going to also mention that apparently in Japan, sales of Nintendo Switch have doubled since last week. It was like 48,000 units to now 79,000. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's trajectory. It's not. It's random that it's not. It's bumped back up. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe there's a sale going on. I don't know. I don't want to read into anything. So, moving on. This is what I kind of was interested into. I saw this over at Kotaku. Especially with everything, I finally completed this game, but Horizon Zero Dawn's narrative director says they spent hundreds of hours rewriting the story. Patricia Hernandez over at Kotaku writes, John Gonzalez might have cut his teeth on the beloved Fallout New Vegas, but the narrative director told Kotaku that helping craft the story for Horizon Zero Dawn was, quote, hands down the biggest challenge, end quote, of his career. Here's why. According to game director Matthias Dejean, the idea of Horizon began as a pitch from Guerrilla Games studio art director John Bart. The developers knew that they wanted a, quote, female protagonist fighting machines on a lush Earth far in the future, end quote, Dejean said, but working out the details turned out to be surprisingly difficult. Quote, writing Fallout New Vegas was no walk in the park, but the themes and tones of the universe had already been well established in previous installments, and the world could be explained in a single sentence. The bomb dropped. This is what's left, end quote, Gonzalez says. He continues, quote, plus, it didn't hurt that I was working with Chris Avallone and Josh Sawyer, stellar talents whose knowledge of the Fallout universe was unmatched, end quote, or Horizon was in some ways trickier, he explained, because the story seems paradoxical. Quote, the very elements that made its high-level concepts enthralling, low-tech humans versus high-tech robot dinosaurs, contradicted each other in a way that demanded explanation. Why would humans forget technology if technology was all around them? Gonzalez said. He continues, quote, all told, that meant we needed to, A, imagine an entire history for this strange new world, B, create a character who'd be compelling to play, C, give her a deeply personal reason to go questing across the world, D, make sure her personal quest put her on a collision course with the biggest mystery of the world, and E, pace out the quite intricate answer to those mysteries so each revelation left players wanting more, driving them on to the end of the game, end quote, Gonzalez continued. Getting something plausible yet exciting took hundreds of hours, Gonzalez told Kotaku, as Guerrilla Games imagined and reimagined, quote, every detail before even one word of dialogue was written, end quote. According to Gonzalez, some of the tougher scenes to write were the early segments of the game, when Horizon has to convince the player to care about Aloy. Quote, writing and rewriting Aloy's childhood scenes was hard work, but it seems to have paid off, because I find it impossible to watch and play those scenes without getting behind her 100%. I still get a lump in my throat every time I see her pick up a bow and declare to Rost that she's going to win the proving. Every time I watch her leap literally from girlhood to womanhood, end quote. So it's probably not a surprise to hear that those moments, along with other key Aloy scenes, were some of Gonzalez's favorite things to write, too. But it's an optional side story that Gonzalez holds close to his heart. Throughout the Horizon map, players can discover something called Vantages, which are cache messages recorded in the world. Once activated, players can hear a story that is appended with a photograph that shows what a locale used to look like before it was overtaken. Quote, looking beyond the main story, the narrative told by the Vantages also meant a lot to me. My mother has been in poor health and for some time nearly died last fall. Taking literally the mother-son relationship described in the Vantages story bears no resemblance at all to our relationship, but my aim was to portray a more universal bond of love. By the way, my mother has not just read every Vantage, but has watched at least one complete playthrough of the entire game on YouTube. I'm fairly certain that she's Horizon Zero Dawn's #1 fan among the over 70 non-PS4 owning demographic. I kind of want to end on that because that's kind of cute, end quote, because they go into spoilers. But, I mean, it goes in to show how, I mean, I never thought about this. I knew when they announced that the Fallout New Vegas writer was going to be working on Horizon. I'm like, I'm psyched because he wrote Fallout New Vegas, which had like branching stories, had a very intricate main storyline. I was excited for this game, but it goes to show that at least in the Fallout universe, when he was writing this, you had prior creators of these games that knew everything about the world itself that he could ask and bounce off ideas, where this, it was literally just creating it from the ground up, and it kind of showed like the intricacies of how hard it would be developing this type of game, from saying that these are like tribal, basically like really tribal humans with like advanced weaponry fighting these machines. How do you interconnect that? How do you understand? How do you tell the player that these things are how these humans don't understand this? How do you interconnect it in that type of world and intertwine the two? He did a brilliant job, I believe.
I agree, and I have to say, when I first started playing this game, I was worried that it was going to go in that kind of direction where, like, I'm not really spoiling anything by saying this, but I was hoping it wasn't going to go in the direction of like, oh, you know, these robots, they became so smart they destroyed humanity, and it's like, all right, well, that's just the same old generic story we've heard in so many different stories. I like the spin they put on it that we'll obviously get to in a later episode, but I like the spin they put on it. I think it really made the game unique and special, as opposed to just another, you know, sci-fi game. So this game was fantastic. I mean, the story was just so well done. And I honestly haven't been that, like you were saying earlier, I haven't been that wrapped into a story in a long time. So it goes to show you how good it was. I
mean, when they listed off the plethora of things that they had to consider, it's kind of ingenious. And I think the beginning portion of the game, it kind of showed you who Aloy was and how, you know, you kind of got in touch with the type of person she was, and you kind of felt somewhat connected to her. And I don't know, I think they did a great job introducing the character, introducing what the world was, introduced like intrigue, and I don't know, I think it really played well with, you know, it honestly made me think, like, this is probably what humanity would have done if they didn't have, didn't have like this knowledge, and all of a sudden there's advanced machinery going around. You would think that they would act this way, just because it's so advanced and out of their knowledge range. I mean, that's what happens in real life when, in real life we have no, especially like in the previous centuries when they didn't have knowledge on what certain things happened, they just placed religion in between saying that's why. So
yeah, the sun, the rain.
Yeah, or some random door. Moving on.
And the article clearly hasn't opened yet because Adam's still not on there.
You know me so well. Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy premieres next month. Jeffrey Matlouf over at Eurogamer writes, Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy series will debut on April 18th. The first episode, Tangled Up in Blue, will launch on PS4, Xbox One, PC, iOS, and Android. It will cost $4.99. I'm actually kind of I'm interested in this, if it's going to be kind of like the Marvel Universe Guardians of the Galaxy, or is it kind of be like their own spin on it? We'll we'll see. I think Telltale does a good job with taking franchises, as you saw with Tales from the Borderlands. Fucking phenomenal. One of the best games I enjoyed the most out of that game. Not the most. That's just so vague. I enjoyed a lot about that game. I never really got through the Walking Dead series itself, just because it felt like, I don't know, that franchise I wasn't really committed to completely. Tales of the Borderlands had very good storytelling. It made me connect with the characters. I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to see what they do with this goofy cast of characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, which you saw in the Marvel Universe. And it seems like Marvel is, handing out their franchises to proper studios to, Guardians of the Galaxy now with Spider-Man going to the Insomniac. So hopefully they're taking care of this and not doing like stupid license tie-ins that they used to do. They would rush out games with Activision and it would be god-awful. Moving on. BioWare issues statement on Mass Effect Andromeda's future. Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer writes, 1 week on from its North American release, Mass Effect Andromeda continues to generate a mountain of feedback, positive and negative. Today, BioWare took stock of the mixed reaction to the game in a statement to fans. The message posted on BioWare's Twitter promises a plan to improve Andromeda, which will be detailed in full next week. Quote, we received quite a bit of feedback, some of it positive and some of it critical. That feedback is an important part of our ongoing support of the game, and we can't wait to share more of our immediate plans with you on Tuesday, April 4th. In the meantime, keep your feedback coming. Our team is listening, working around the clock to gather information and plan out solutions to improve and build on Mass Effect Andromeda. End quote. So how will BioWare add to Andromeda? I don't know. The studio has already suggested it's looking at improving the game's lackluster character creator, some of its more wooden animations, and, of course, tackling those much shared bugs. But what about beyond that? BioWare statement mentions the game's immediate future, so it may be worth putting aside expectations of hearing much about its first proper expansion. I honestly would not want to hear about a Mass Effect Andromeda expansion already when they're having big issues with this. Honestly, Gary, isn't this sad for you that this is BioWare we're talking about? BioWare.
Yeah. Actually, it's really devastating. I never thought that BioWare could actually release a bad game, but from what I'm hearing, apparently they experienced a lot of pressure. What's up?
I don't think this is like bad per se. I think it was what I'm hearing is kind of average, but it's definitely with the hype of Mass Effect
not their
in front
level
of it, and this is BioWare we're talking about. It's just yeah.
Well, there's like the BioWare standard. Like you have that standard of games that they've released in the past, and it just doesn't come anywhere close. But I have to say, with regards to like the fact that they're trying to add stuff in now after the fact, after it's released. I have to say, isn't it amazing how far we've come? Like 15 years ago, a company would release like a subpar or mediocre game, and if it was bad, that's it. That's what happens. You spend your money, and then that's the end of it. But now, people just go back, these developers go back, and they release patches, content, more patches, more content.
Like this is different, though. I feel like now it's like patches to fix bugs and animations, whereas at least when there was a mediocre game, most of the time those games were actually kind of there. It was done. It was a complete game. It wasn't you didn't expect anything else from it. I mean, this just seems more bugs than anything.
But even so, years ago, there were probably a lot of games out there too that had technical issues that were never resolved because they couldn't be back then.
True.
But now, it's amazing how these companies can basically rush their product out into the market and then they just go back later on and start fixing everything, which is kind of bullshit. But it happens. From what I'm hearing, apparently they were. I heard this from somebody else, but
through the grapevine, sources confirmed to nobody but Gary.
I just heard that they were under they were getting obviously like a lot of money pumped into them to do this, do that, and you have to meet all these deadlines. Yeah, exactly. And you have to meet all these deadlines. You basically lose all the creativity you otherwise have, and all that that comes with additional time to spend on the game. But obviously that wasn't a possibility with this game, so it flopped sort of. Mm-hmm. Not financially.
No, not financially. They're under EA, and I just want BioWare. I want them to actually give BioWare just time to do their own thing. Let's not try to crank this out. Let's have them create a game, let them do their own thing, which they've done in the past, and they did it pretty well, and let them just create. That's just my thought. I sort of skipped this, but PlayStation Plus lineup for April has been announced. I'm going to go through the full lineup, which I'm excited because I want you to grab a game because it's multiplayer, so we can probably play. I say this now, and you'll hear next week that we haven't played together. But let's hope. Let's just keep hoping, folks. Maybe it'll happen. Starting off is Drawn to Death coming to PS4. I'm really excited for this multiplayer shooter. The art style looks fantastic. Then you have Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time coming to PS4. Then you have Invisibles, The Lost Kingdom, and Alien Rage Extended Edition coming to PS3. Then you have 10 Second Ninja coming to PS4 with coming to PS Vita with cross-buy with PS4, and Curses and Chaos coming to the Vita cross-buy with PS4. I kind of I wonder when they're finally going to just get rid of the PS3 stuff, and especially because if it's not backwards compatible like the 360 is with the Xbox One, or vice versa, switch that, where you can get those 360 games and then play them on the Xbox One. I don't know the point of now. I mean, I guess people still own a PS3, but how many of those people really have a PS Plus? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only a matter of time, considering that the PS3 production's ending.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be much longer now. Maybe another year or two, maybe.
It would be really nice if they just got rid of those, maybe another Vita game, and put more money so they can get another PS4 game, or probably PSVR is probably what they're going to do for people that own that. But to the finals thing, Red Dead Redemption 2 release date seemingly confirmed by a Polish trailer. Video Game 24/7 has this up, written by Shabana Arif. There it is. Retailer backtracks after Red Dead Redemption 2's release date hits the news. Red Dead Redemption 2 was officially announced in October last year for PS4 and Xbox One, and since the trailer dropped, we've learned that PS4 players will get, quote, first access to earn select online content, end quote, and that we can expect, quote, incredible emotional depth, end quote, from the story. PC players are already petitioning to have the game brought to their platform, but there's been no word on a release date yet, other than autumn 2017. So when a Polish retailer, Media Market, seemingly confirmed on October release date, Reddit was all over it. The website pre-order page from the games listed the release date as October 3rd and was spotted by Polish site CD Action. They reached out to Media Market and were told that the game's distributors had passed on the date to them. Quote, I would like to inform you that our marketing department was informed by a distributor of the game that its airing date is 3rd of October 2017, end quote, was the email response translated by Reddit user Akadabacom8323. Shortly after the news hit, PR manager at Media Market, Walletta Batog.
Can you please choose articles with normal names? Damn it. John Smith.
Walletta Batog emailed CD Action stating that there is no confirmed release date, and that the Media Market team member who sent the previous email was mistaken. While the date on the product page has been changed back to December 31st placeholder. Was it a genuine mistake, or are they in damage control phase? What do you think, Gary?
I don't know anymore, to be honest with you. I start to wonder, are they doing this leak shit on purpose for publicity? I wonder that all the time. Because I think half the time it is, and half the time maybe it isn't. But I mean, why would this website post that if it wasn't? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess for publicity they could post it even if it wasn't true. But still, I don't know. I'm just excited for Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't care when it releases, as long as it's completely well-rounded, not like Mass Effect Andromeda. I will be very happy.
Damn, shots fired! He never even played the game. I mean, I trust Rockstar. They had so much time in this. I feel like it seems like Rockstar just knows when they're ready to release a game. Knock on wood. Let's hope they don't fuck this up. I mean,
that's definitely true.
They put time and effort, and because they have such a high status, they're like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking wait and release this game whenever we feel that it's ready. It took GTA 5 forever to release. Now they're still making money with GTA 5 because it's still in some of the top, it's still charting pretty high, which is insane because GTA Online. Fucking brilliant decision by them. I didn't think it was going to work out for them, but, it has. So it'll be interesting to see. Red Dead Redemption 2 should be exciting to watch. I don't know what the story is going to be. I don't know if it's actually going to be a prequel, what it's going to be like. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for it. It's going to release this Well, if it's October 3rd. Is October 3rd? Can you look this up for me, Gary? Is October 3rd a Tuesday this year?
Well, I will confirm momentarily.
Either a Tuesday or a Friday, because I think Rockstar may release on Fridays just because they're Rockstar. Yeah.
And October 3rd is a Tuesday.
Well, that does line up with video game releases. I forget, there was a reason why they release on Tuesday. I remember hearing it before, but I don't remember anymore. I think it was something that happened in the past and sort of just carried over. Can't quite remember. Oh, well. Gary! That has been... Do you have anything to say before I just, do my thing?
Do the spiel?
Yeah.
Well, yes. One last thing. So Adam and I were talking before the podcast. We are approaching, I think, 1,500 downloads for this month. It's a new milestone again. It's about 500 more than we got last month.
Which is insane.
Just wanted to say thanks.
Fucking insane. We really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, just wanted to say thanks to everybody, especially for all the people that are actually commenting now on our posts. That's really awesome. It's pretty cool to see the conversation out there and what people think. So
people really love Jade Empire, I found out this week.
Yeah. So we really appreciate the feedback and the conversations. So thanks a lot to everybody, and I'll see you guys on Monday.
Yeah,
or Tuesday.
You saved yourself, Gary, before I called you on it. You saved yourself. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. If you are a new listener and you sat through all of that, you are so strong, not gonna lie. If you're a continued listener, you're even stronger. You're just basically immune right now to us. But we really appreciate you. We love you all so much. Please interact with us on Twitter at 2JerseyKids. I'm not trying to be clingy or, asking too much of you, but comment. We need you. But yeah. Tweet us at 2JerseyKids. Email us 2jerseykids@gmail.com. Please submit us questions. If you want to talk about, give us feedback. We'd be happy to interact with you, talk with you, because we're awesome people. You can find Gary at RealScavenger18, me at Adam J. Buckingham 7. Or not 7, Adam J. Buckingham. I'm thinking of, another thing. But yeah. Please, rate us on iTunes, whatever podcast app service you use. Anything else I'm missing? Subscribe. I think I already said that. Gary, say bye.
Peace.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.